Hey guys, so I was painting this creature last night and I had a couple of, breakthroughs when it comes to painting the hair. I originally started out with a really loose sketch and I started doing my rendering and I just didn't like how things were looking. So I decided to create a cleaner sketch, and to show how I got to that point, I'm doing a little demonstration here. So you want to create some bigger shapes, which is easy to do if you just draw some lines radiating outwards and then connect them. And then if you just take out little cuts out of those overarching shapes, then you have some little tufts of fur. And then I create a new layer over it, and you can see I'm doing a second layer of fur, just smaller, and then the final layer just cleaning up so you have some clean line art to work with. And so that's basically the step that I'm starting on here. So I start out by using the selection tool to select the area and fill it in with a base color. And then I create some selections to create shapes for the shadow shapes. And so these are the shadows that are going to be darkest and directly underneath the tufts of fur. And yeah, the key that I figured out last night is I just need to be using the selection tool more and focus on making bigger shapes that you then cut away from to make the smaller tufts of fur, and that way the whole thing just kind of flows together. So now I'm just doing more selections for shadow shapes in that lighter midsection. The shadow shapes are going to be lighter in value than in the darker section. And then for the line art, you can make the colors not so dark by turning alpha lock on and then painting over the line art. Or you can do a lighten layer, and that will lighten up the color of the line art so that it matches and can blend more with your painting. Now I'm adding some shadow shapes. Again, the shadow color is going to be a little bit lighter than for the bottom section, and then doing some selections for the highlight. And for all of these shapes, I kind of focus on a similar shape language, so it's going to be kind of a jagged fur-like shape. Now I'm going in and adding some deeper shadows to that top section. So we have 3 values for each section. We have the midtone, the highlight, and the deepest shadow color. Thinking of it this way just helps to stay organized, which is the key I'm learning to painting efficiently, which is something I'm always trying to do better. So now it's up to you if you want to leave it at this step, which is kind of more of a cel-shaded looking style where the shapes have cleaner, sharper edges. I'm going to actually go in with a blending brush and blend the edges softly together. I don't want to blend away the shapes completely though, so that's going to be key here, is blending but not getting rid of the overall structure and kind of the jagged shapes that we have. And I'm just using my regular square painting brush to do the blending. And here I slow it down a little bit so you can see what it looks like in real time. I'm doing mostly downward strokes, some upward strokes as well. And it just softens those edges. Not all blending brushes are going to work well to do this effect, but I like this brush. This is the square brush from Dave Greco's brush pack, and just kind of helps to taper those edges. And now I speed up so you can just quickly get an idea of how the blending process looks like. Yeah, painting fur is something I've been doing for a long time, but I still feel like You know, last night when I was working on this, I was like, oh yeah, this it makes so much more sense. Why don't I do it like this all the time? And I'm sure I have done it like this before, but it's one of those things you kind of have to relearn multiple times for it to really stick. And that's another reason why I'm making this video, is partially for my benefit so that I can look back on this and remember the key takeaways that I learned last night. And I guess the main takeaways are bigger, simpler shapes, and maybe start out with cleaner line art. I don't always like to do that because I get really eager just to jump straight into painting, but I found that if I'm kind of a little bit lost with my shapes, then starting off with cleaner line art and cleaner color selections only seems to help. And this is an optional additional step to add a highlight color. So this would be your fourth value. If you want the fur to look shiny, then this is a really good way to do it. Just doing the same process as before, using the selection tool and using a lighter color. And I always shift the hue a little bit towards a cooler, well, in this case, a cooler hue. Cooler tones seem to be a safe bet to go when you're doing a highlight color. And then you can add in some hair-like strokes, some thin little hair-like strokes, so turn the brush size down. There's some great hair brushes you can get out there too that will have some good individual hair stroke brushes. I'm just using the same square brush. And then I decided to get rid of the highlight by painting over it with that original mid-tone value. I just didn't think that this creature needed shiny fur. So I'm actually painting a lion hyena hybrid. It's a chimera creature from our game, which was pretty fun to do. And then I'm doing some adjustments of the curves layers. And in the final step, which I didn't record but I can explain, is I took the selection tool and went over the bottom third of the fur, and I wanted it to be darker, so I just adjusted the hue towards red, turned the saturation down and the brightness down, and then I blended those edges again so that it was not so sharp. And this is the finished result. I hope you were able to pick up some useful tips for when you're painting fur, and if you have any tips for me, you can always leave some comments below, and I'm sure I'll be coming up with new ideas and new breakthroughs in the future, and when I do, I'll be sure to make a new video. Thanks for watching.